guys, this is Lee here, and in this video we have Amanda Callahan, one of the best sunfish sailors in the whole entire world,
Yes.
and we have John Butine, who is a world's competitor. I can't say
not one of the best,
but a very good sailor, and he is the International Sunfish Class Association official measurer. So I asked some people out there to send questions on what would they ask if you could talk to one of the best sailors in the world and also one of the most technically known, knowledgeable sailors for the Sunfish class. And let's get right to it. Oh, we got one from Steve Atkins here. It says, I found myself in midwinters not pointing as well as others. How can I improve my pointing and VMG upwind? Amanda?
Might start by going gooseneck forward a half an inch.
Okay.
But I wouldn't do that in a race setting. I would do that in practice first and see how it felt. And take it from there.
All right. And then he actually followed that up because he found himself
I don't get the answer.
With Doug Callahan. Oh, hold on. What is your...
So depending on the conditions, one thing that I have found is, so if it's in lighter air, I'll actually grab the boom and pull the boom closer to the center line to get the main sheet that's on the traveler bridle closer to center. And that does help a little bit, but that really only works in the lighter conditions.
Did you just say trimming the main sheet?
I did not say that. I said grab the boom and pull the boom closer to the center line so that the main sheet that's on the traveler bridle is closer to center line. It's kind of like on a keel boat where you're trying to pull the traveler to windward.
Okay.
It's kind of the same effect.
You're physically grabbing the boom now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because it naturally wants to gravitate to low side.
Okay.
I think maybe to clarify, he's not sailing holding onto the boom.
No, just
but you just pull it up, and it will kind of, the friction on the traveler will just keep it with a tighter angle of attack.
Okay.
You may have to do it a couple times, but it does help.
You're not holding the boom.
No.
So this is interesting. And then Steve also said he was racing behind Doug Callahan, and he was probably about 10 boat lengths behind him, and he was pointing much better than Steve was. You want to address that?
Doug's awesome. That could be it.
Do you think you're in bad air at 10 boat lengths back?
10 boat lengths.
Really light, maybe you might feel the effects of it, but it didn't sound like that regatta was light air, was it?
Midwinter's Masters. It was light.
Oh, it was light.
Yeah.
I mean, not knowing where, define behind. So, behind and to windward, behind and to leeward, straight behind, that will have an effect. But 10 boat lengths, I would think that the disturbance from the boat in front kind of dissipates by that distance.
I actually disagree with both of you. I think the wind shadow is terribly wrong.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. That's just, and then it gets in your head. Then you're behind someone. Then you're trying to pinch to go higher. And then you're going slow. Oh, maybe that's it. Bow down, maybe? I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. What do you think? Does 10 boat lengths, are you in bad air or good air? Paul Odegaard, Odie.
Feather power.
Yes. Do you agree with he put it good or best, parentheses? Do you read a good or best start is the most important goal to work on?
Having a good start definitely
makes the rest of it easier.
And improves consistency.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Starts are very important.
I did see a question further on about like how to practice by yourself. And if you don't have anyone else to sail with, it's pretty easy to work on your own starts. And that might be a little bit weird to say, but you can always work on all the parts of the start on your own time. The acceleration, the time and distance. You don't need anybody to help you with that. So it's an easy enough goal to achieve by yourself.
So if you were doing it, one thing to work on your stars, Amanda is one of the best college coaches in the country.
We do all right.
So what she says is like gold here. So if you had to do a drill for someone who's alone, like what would you recommend for a Sunfish Sailor out there?
Well, if starting was your overall goal,
Mhm.
I would probably do a couple of things. But I think most importantly is your final acceleration. So just giving yourself a 10-second countdown, getting up to full speed, knowing exactly how long it takes to get up to full speed in the conditions, and then after you feel really good about that, adding in some time and distance so that you know exactly where you are, and then you're just gonna blow people away on the starting line.
Nice. Now, John, what do you feel? How do you practice your starts?
I mean, just practicing accelerating from, it's very common to be lined up at the start. Everyone's luffing and kind of trying to hold a position. So you're kind of almost at a standstill, and being able to accelerate from that position at the shortest amount of time is key. But really, it's just knowing time and distance. Just practice sailing from a point. How long is it going to take me to get to a certain spot? How quickly can I get up to speed?
Now, here's a question for both. Oh, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say I am not one of the best starters, but at Worlds, the best starters are almost always starting at an end, or they know exactly where the middle of the line is, either with a midline boat or they just know, and that's why they are jumping ahead almost immediately off the starting line, and then you can never catch them. So they're really diligent about doing their homework on huge starting lines, which it's hard to do by yourself.
Okay, so just say the build on that question, which is a really good question, because most people are not great starters, especially in bigger fleets. But you said you're not really a good starter, but you grind your way up. So just say if you're not the best start. So how do you, Amanda, like me and John are always falling back while you're always going forward? What's the biggest difference that you find?
I think that I will quickly, like if I didn't have a great start, I will quickly identify the exit routes and then get myself into a better situation almost immediately. Like I won't hang in those bad spots off the starting line. I'm going to find a way out. I'm going to find a better lane and then execute a new game plan there. So
I find myself in that position shortly after the start.
So what do you do? Do you bail out quick too?
I mean, I have, but it all depends on, like, if I got to tack over to port, do I really have an opportunity to do that? And do I just have to suffer for a little bit longer and wait for that opportunity to present itself again? It's a, moment by moment, kind of thing. But I just have to usually just make the best of the situation that I'm in and look for that opportunity to bail out.
So just to build on that, but not so much the strategy of it. What, Amanda, do you do to your boat, specifically your rigging, that makes you fast? This is the golden question, because everyone wants to know what's the go fast secret. And if I actually had a video from 2 years ago that I interviewed Amanda, so that has all the secrets.
I will say that I have in certain wind ranges, in certain choppiness or flat water conditions, I have like my sort of go-to numbers for my gooseneck, for my halyard height,
right? And
then so I have confidence in those numbers.
So that's a great question. You said gooseneck numbers, so you have a range from like 14, 15, 16, right?
Yeah.
Inches from the front.
Yep.
And one thing I don't do myself, and I don't know if John does this. You said your halyard height.
Yeah.
Where, like,
my gen's height.
Your gen's height.
My gen's height.
What do you put your gen's height in if it's blowing, where you have the hike part? Do you know where you have your notebook? I know she has a notebook too.
It's in my notebook and it's marked on my mast, but I do not know the number off the top of my head.
But the bottom line is you have repeatable numbers that you like.
That I have found worked
for you.
For me in different conditions, and then I have confidence in those, so I know, hey, in this situation, I'm going to do this,
right,
and take it from there.
Right, and an important thing is, and Marguerite Kohler, who's the daughter of Jim Kohler, who owns the dinghy shop, has a notebook where she writes her notes, where she could refer to a regatta from a place 3-4 years ago, and she goes, "At this place, this worked." Is that what you do too?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many people actually write down their stuff? I don't know. And so try to write down notes.
I have more recently taken photos of them and put them on my phone.
Yeah, there you go. So the repeatable things. John, do you have like go-to numbers for yourself?
So you reference like 14, 15, 16 on the Gooseneck. Well, that's usually my range. And I have experimented with the gens in both regattas and just practice sailing. And I basically resorted to just the conventional setup in all conditions and go with that.
Do you use the gens?
No.
Oh, you don't?
I don't.
What if it's blowing 20?
He tried. He said
I
he didn't like
it.
Really? And how do you do?
Actually, in heavy air, I do fine.
Because when you say when it's blowing 15, that's when you get excited.
Yeah, that's when I get excited. Yeah.
That's interesting because you two are very. This is interesting for the Sunfish and the ISCA sailboat. We have 3 different size sailors. Me and John are very similar size, and Amanda's smaller. But in any condition, I remember in Connecticut, the Masters, it was blowing 20 something, and you were holding your own with, with the bigger people. Like, what do you do in situations where it's like nuclear conditions? What do you do with your boat?
Get as fully depowered as I can. So I have at a couple of events, not the Masters, but a couple of events experimented with like a reef in the sail. I have experimented with Gooseneck back at like 22, I think. And at the end of the day, in those big air stuff, like last summer down in, where were we? Somewhere.
Lavalette.
Lavalette, there we go. I was like, we were somewhere. That was windy.
Crazy windy.
At the end of the day, fitness is gonna be the thing that's gonna.
And then you use the 2-to-1.
Oh, the 2-to-1. Yeah, I mean that goes without saying, Lee. You know me. I'm like it's biggest hype man. Like the hype man is 2-to-1.
Everyone is using the 2-to-1, even the bigger sailors. So it's really a game changer. And speaking of 2-to-1, it's really interesting that the ISCA sailboat, which is the new builders Sunfish Class, International Sunfish Class, has actually come up with a block setup for the 2-to-1.
Yes.
John, can you say anything about that?
I can. So when ZIM starts supplying boats, there will be a combination of Harkin blocks. I don't recall I should know the part numbers off the top of my head because I've been living and breathing them.
We'll leave the part numbers in the description below. Yeah. And you could go to the ZIM website. And we're not sponsored by ZIM here, but you could go to the ZIM website and they'll have all the Sunfish ISCA parts available for you.
So I do know the one that's attached to the bridle is an HSB 271, and that's basically a Harkin micro block with a pin through the sheave. So you can disassemble the block, you can put it on the Traveler bridle along with the other block, which I don't remember the part number offhand, and that's where the main sheet will turn through. So that combination of blocks, you have free running on the Traveler bridle. It doesn't have to be tied on anymore. And then you have the upgrade of the Harkin ball bearing, blocks. So it's a good combination.
Pretty smoothly. Okay.
Very smoothly.
So here we are. We're here in Bristol, Rhode Island, here with Amanda Callahan and John Butine.
Yep. All
right. So Ronald Bryn from Long Island, New York, asks, "Do you hum along with your centerboard?" Do you hum?
I don't hum. I will sometimes sing to myself though.
Okay. What's your go-to song?
I have a few. Depends on my mood, but Radioactive. I don't know, because I mislearned the words, and so I sing my version to myself.
John, do you sing anything?
I don't sing anything, but I did have a song when I was skiing, that was my go-to song, the first run every day, and that was Enter Sandman.
Ooh,
Nice.
I like it.
Metallica going here.
Karaoke, my go-to is "Gangster's Paradise" by Coolio. It's a true story.
Okay, so
As I walk through the valley of... Go ahead, carry on.
all right, David Krause asks, assuming all things are equal, clear air current, no wind shifts, etc., what's the secret to upwind speed? Trim, sail shape, weight placement, other.
Yes.
All the above.
Oh, the funny thing is, David Loring, 3-time world champion, twice in the Bahamas, chimed in on this, and he said all the above. Look at that. David Loring. Thanks, David. All right. So you said yes. So basically it is. Let's see what David says. David Loring says, would add it's not weight placement, more weight movement. Back and forth in waves, in and out, etc., one with the water. And he also said, David Loring says, in light air, he has no clue, with a winky face. Ask David Mendelblatter Connor. So that's really good. You know what's good about the ISCA, International Sunfish Class Association? We have these top sailors like David Loring, Connor, Amanda, and John. They're very free with the information. It's really good. Thanks for doing this. Let me see what else we got here. Rod Favela. What would you ask the top sailors if you could ask them a question?
I love this question.
What's Paul Forrester's? What's your phone number?
Call me, maybe.
Yeah. So and then David Loring actually said yes. That's correct. Or Eduardo Cordero. So Eduardo is amazing person to ask some questions, especially downwind. Actually, Scott Shirley from Texas, hot dog a noose. That's his boat. 70-year-old boat. What's the secret to seeing and catching waves downwind?
I cannot answer this question. I would love to know the answer to this question.
You're really not looking for them behind you, because if you're looking back, I mean, you need to look back to check for what puffs are coming down, the body of water that you're sailing on. But it's really, you don't feel the wave until it's actually, on the back half of your boat, and then you're trying to react to it.
So why do you say you're not the one to ask? You're pretty fast.
I'm horrendously slow downwind. Disgustingly slow.
So what do you see? You know what? This is the funny thing. I was at in Miami, and I was listening to David Loring and Connor talk about downwind, and these guys were talking to a level where what's so above like we talk about.
PhD.
They were talking about the angles of the waves on the waves and the sets. I can't explain it, but it happens to say David Loring chimed in on this. David, you should be here.
Yeah.
But let's see what Scott Shirley said. He said, practice, push your limits, leverage body movements and surf lines. Every wave is different. Best advice I ever got was once you catch a wave is to look to get to the next one behind it when you have speed. Look to get the next one behind it when you have speed. So you're trying to catch another wave while you're still having speed so you could go to that wave. Oh, so he said, meaning catch it, stay on it, but get off and turn hard before you slow it all. And sometimes the best thing to do is skip a bad wave, like a surfer focuses. So David, thanks for the advice. David Loring is one of the best downwind sailors around. And Connor, Eduardo, those guys are, but he says practice. I like to sail that by the lee. Once I get sailing by the lee, and you could feel yourself go 2, 3, 4 miles an hour faster, and just ride that wave as long as possible. And then, like David said, if you're starting to slow down, try to go the other way and catch the wave. And Mike Trost asked or says, Scott Shirley, surfing helps understand what a power in a wave is.
One thing that I will say that I tried to work on at the Pan Am Games when the waves were really big were the rock transitions up and down a little bit. They require a lot more body weight movement than you think. So like a lot.
Do you mean like when you're transitioning from going down the lee and you want to go, like just like you're going this way, you want to go that way?
Yep.
You're saying actually rock your body.
Yes, and like you can feel it on the tine. And it was a really big rock, much bigger than I had ever practiced. But I also didn't practice in waves like that ever. So
are you saying like if you're riding on a windward chine And
Yep.
if you want to turn direction, you're putting your whole body inside.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest advancements in the world is going to be the ISCA World Championship, the International Sunfish Class Association Championship. World's going to be in Salinas Yacht Club down in Ecuador. And the new sailor of the International Sunfish Class Sailboat is ZIM Sailing here in Bristol, Rhode Island. And John was actually at the factory today doing some work down in there. Can you just give a snippet of what people could expect on this new boat?
Boat's going to be solid. It's going to be well built. If you're familiar with the boats that Vanguard made in the right around 2010, plus or minus a couple years, that would look and feel like that, but there's a lot of stuff internal to the boat that's based on experiences of where things fail on the boat. Those are being addressed, and basically expecting, for lack of better words, a bulletproof boat.
And this is a really big thing because ZIM is going to be the first time that they're going to be supplying the boats for the World Championship being held in Ecuador. So if you're thinking about going to Ecuador, Amanda, you definitely, because it is one of the nicest yacht clubs that sell sunfish that I've ever experienced. It is beautiful down there. It's so much fun.
I'm going only because of your video. If I go,
And a smile because he's excited.
I'm going only because of Lee's videos.
So let's keep on going. All right, Dan Skolnick in New York says, "Where do you mount the spinnaker pole?" He's joking here. All right, so Steve Atkins also, if boat speed is so important, how do I know when I'm going fast? I know the answer is to get judged by other boats, but if you're only around other slow sailors, someone will say you know by feel. How do you answer that for Steve?
I don't have a great answer for Steve. You need another boat, I think. You need somebody who's a little faster than you, or at least the same speed as you.
How do you know?
Otherwise, you can't even develop that feel.
Because
you can feel how you're feeling when you're going slow, and you'd be like, "This is it. I'm doing it."
So how do you know you're going slow?
Other boats.
All
right.
You think you're doing everything right, but you're not going as fast. So now you're starting to analyze everything that's going, in your boat. What do I need to be doing differently?
Like, you know what? One time I sailed at Barrington, and I had a brand new sail on, and I sailed one of the worst regattas I ever sailed, and it's because I didn't have time to put my telltales on.
Ooh.
And I remember Brian Weeks, who was the president of the Sunfish class decades ago, and he said he doesn't sail with telltales, which are the little flutters on your sail. I can't sail with telltales. I thought I was going fast because my sail was full, but I wasn't. I was actually just reaching going upwind.
Yeah.
And it was light air, so you kind of like ease off. I think if you're going slow, so trim your sail better. It's almost like an obvious thing. But I didn't have telltales. Can you sail without telltales?
No.
Yeah.
I could probably do it, but you have to like if I was going to hop in a boat today, after having not sailed for the last 5 months, no, absolutely not. But I feel like if you were sailing for a couple of weeks at a time, then yes.
Right, because you have the feel. But I would recommend if we're talking about something you could do to your boat, definitely get telltales.
Have to.
And if it's light,
have to.
I would say ease off the sail first in light air.
When in doubt, let it out.
Because once you get it going, then you could trim it in a little bit, a couple inches at a time, then you can start pointing. That's, because a lot of times in light air, you want to try to, especially if you're behind
Steve's
people.
question, I think, the heart of it is like, how do you develop that good boat speed and that good feel for the boat in the absence of other people to practice with? And I just think that's a huge hill to climb, and it's really hard.
But if you just make sure you're on the wind, that's the bottom line. If you're on the wind, and Steve, you're taller than me and John. It's almost like you have to squish your body into the boat like a can of tuna. So it's the small. You see Eugene Schmidt. He's he's like this.
He does.
I think it actually does help, especially going upwind. I actually sail upwind on my back. If you have any other questions, put them down in the comment section down below. If you like this content, please don't forget to smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to ask a couple more questions to Amanda and John before I let them go. And I want to thank them for coming out to the Brick Pizzeria in Bristol. We had some yummy pizza here. We're not sponsored by them. We had to pay. John, I just want to ask you about the technicalities of the boat, or anything that you could give me. What should people get excited about this new International Sunfish Class Association sailboat?
Well, for starters, I mean, we're going to have a consistent builder where quality is, number one. The parts supply issue or shortage of parts is a non-issue. I mean, that has gone away. There is stock on every component you can think of with ZIM, and they have then the reach out to their dealers.
Mm-hmm.
So parts won't be an issue. Quality is not going to be an issue. And their support for ISCA events, starting now and into the future, is not going to be a question.
Awesome.
So it's a win-win-win.
Okay, great. So one last question I want to ask Amanda is for the everyday, every person sailor out there who is not a racer, who goes out there and just wants to sail. What would you suggest to them to have more fun in the Sunfish sailboat, in the ISCA sailboat?
Reaching.
Ah.
Don't go upwind.
Yeah.
if you're the average sailor, do not go upwind. Reach around. Have a great time.
That is amazing, because a lot of the new racing in the last 10 years, it just goes up and down. And people forget about the joy of reaching.
Reaching, yeah.
That is amazing. If you go out and just sail back and forth, left and right, I want to hear from you, because that is what the ISCA Sunfish Class Association sailboat is all about. You go out there, you trim in a 45-degree angle, hang off the side of the boat, water splashing out here. You're going 5,000 miles an hour, but you're actually going 4 miles an hour.
But it feels like
so that is how you have a lot of fun, is go out there and just reach on your little sailboat.
Yep.
So thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone, for watching this video. If you like this content, check out this, where I'm going to be sailing the new ISCA sailboat soon. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.